All right, we're live. Kelly has a question about her AIM, so she has her stuff pulled up for that.
So hi, good morning, everybody. I know some of you, I've worked with some of you, and I haven't. My name is Kelly. I'm a midwife in the DC Metro, and my project is on depression screening in the perinatal time frame. And I just have one tweak, but I don't, Rebecca, how do we want to run this? Does it matter? Are we just supposed to talk about, I forget, are we just supposed to talk about our processes and what we need help on, or? Yeah? All right, well, I go first because I think mine is super easy, except I can't figure it out in my head, and maybe someone could chime in and
Sorry, I was muted earlier. It doesn't. I don't think it really matters. I watched some of the video from that she did the other day, and she kind of just talked in the beginning, and they each just kind of introduced themselves and went over some of the stuff. So I think whatever we want to do, whatever we need help on, is fine.
Okay, great. So I'll just pop right in if because it's stymieing me. So I have my ARAMP. I'll just go over it. Is a game that I'm playing with my team, and I'm having them participate in lifestyle choices that we typically provide counseling for people who screen positive, but not necessarily needing talk therapy or medication, which is meditation, exercise, diet, and sunlight. So I have a small team of about 8, and this is the percentage that they're participating in. We have, 1 or 2 people who aren't participating or who dropped out or who actually had a baby, so they're dropped out. This is really low participation score. I did get a little bump up by doing something, but only some of the people are participating all the way and the other ones are not. The B process is using a shared decision aid. I have no idea why my run chart looks like that, but she said it's okay. I think it's a reflection of the blanks are when it was not used at all, and the zeros are when it was supposed to be used and it did not get used. So I'm just leaving it like that. The outcome is when it was used, did the patient like it? And they did like it. They like it 100% every time it's used. The C process is the percent screened of eligible patients. So we were doing poorly, and then we figured after the team meeting, we put a plan in place, and I think we're getting better and better at it as a group with some anomaly here. We're doing a pretty good job at screening the people who are supposed to be screened. This is a percent of the positive screens. When I did my chart audit back in the day, I noticed that 40% of the 20 charts audited had a positive mental wellness diagnosis like depression or anxiety in their problem list. So I anticipated it to be about 40%. Average, but I'm coming to about 20% over these couple weeks. So I find that interesting. And then the D process is I'm using a case management log, and of the people who were supposed to be entered, did they get entered? And so there's some variation in there. And then this is something that I just made up today. This is the case managed present caged in the chosen treatment modality. There's a lot of blanks in here because I'm unable to reach my patient. They're reading the patient portal, but they're not answering me, or they're not picking up the telephone. But of the people that I have been reached, only 30 to 50% of them are actually participating in their chosen modality. This is a new tool that I used. My balancing measure wasn't working, so I created another one, which is a team survey about the perceived value of using the shared decision aid. And I changed the decision aid slightly, and so it's more user friendly, and so I'm getting better results on that, but I've only been measuring for 2 times. So those are kind of like my run charts, and just because it's interesting to see what's on the aggregate. This is for my balancing measure, little scores on my survey that I just made up. This is, wow, my sheet on my ramp, who's participating in meditation, exercise, diet, and sunlight, and the average scores. Here is my shared decision aid, who's using it, who's not using it. Do they want medication, talk therapy, or lifestyle? Some are using this shared decision aid but are declining therapy. And some screened positive, and this is new this cycle, the decision aid was not used by the midwives. So that's going to be something with the test of care, why that's happening. And then my C-RAMP, and this is eligible patients, 59, actually screened 43, some declined, and what were their score? And she made me add more. So I started making a tally of all of the positive screens. And as you can see here, the shared decision aid was not used. It's only used with much higher scoring. So that's something that I'm going to do. This is my case management log, which is super ugly because nobody is responding to my calls. So my question is, after all of that, I know that my aim here is I want it to be a percent of the screening of those screened over an average. So she was saying, oh, it's your C process and your D, and who's doing the thing that they said that they were supposed to do. But I don't know how to get those two numbers because my C process is the percent of all eligible patients that are screened. So we're screening at 95%. Does anybody have anything similar to what I'm doing and can chime in?
No. So are you saying that you're trying to combine two of your, okay.
Yeah, like C and D ramp. She's like, so I thought I had it in my head when I talked to her. I thought it was C process and then the right care, like, you know, the D outcome, which is, oh yeah, we're doing it, we're not doing it kind of thing. But now I don't know. I don't know which number that is. And do I do it weekly or bi-weekly? I'm not really sure. Do I just need to listen to other people's aims and then see what other people are doing so I get a light bulb will come off?
So are you doing a right care, Kelly?
It's turning out that way. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's,
so I had this issue too, because I originally set up my right care to be, 5 of my points on my case management log. And it was which patients completed 3 of those 5.
Right. Okay.
And I had a long meeting with her last Saturday, and basically she was telling, the conclusion that we had come to is that I needed to reevaluate my aim, because it shouldn't just be, I keep looking at it as people that complete certain things on a checklist. Okay, you did those 3, you got right care, but is that really right care? It's right care for those 3 patients or however many did it. So what she was kind of reiterating to me is right care is something we can replicate. Like, did those patients get screened? I'm doing obesity. Did their BMI get put into the chart?
Okay, so that's not what she said to me. Yeah, she said, like, of those people that have chosen their therapy, because I'm using a shared decision aid, so it's patient-centered. The aim should be patient-centered, not provider-centered. So she said, so you screened patients using a tool. They chose talk therapy. You call them back. Are they participating in the talk therapy? So that's my number. Like, are they doing the thing that they said that they were supposed to do? Yes.
Yeah, see, that was the same thing that I was, but what we had chatted about was switching it, was instead of are they doing what they're supposed to do, are you making sure, are you checking in to see if they're doing what they're supposed to do?
But I am.
And so that is a right care. The patient is getting the right care. You are checking in on them. They may not be doing it. And it's so hard to wrap your mind around, because I'm like, no, right care is to get it done. And it's like, no, it's the fact that we as providers are trying to get them to do it. Does that make sense?
So it's just whether so then I go back to what it originally was, is a utilization rate. Did the patient get contacted when they were supposed to be contacted about follow-up?
Yep. And that's the conclusion that we came is exactly that. Did you make the phone call? Did they respond? Okay, so if you made the phone call and that's one of your right care, tick marks, maybe you're doing 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5, whatever it may be. The fact that they didn't respond doesn't mean they're not getting the right care. It's the fact that we are doing everything in our power to make sure that we're trying to get them the right care.
So if I made the follow-up contact, you get a 1, and if I didn't, you get a 0.
Correct.
Okay, so you get some percentage there, say 90%, right?
Sure.
Okay, so then what? So then
you pick the percentage that you want to choose as your right care. So anybody with over a 75, anybody with over an 80% got right care. You're setting that line.
Okay, but then how do you get your aim from that? Anybody
that received 80%, on a score of 80% on case management log. You just write it whatever your choice is. Mine is patients that received 3 out of 5 measures. So
no. What is your aim? Read me.
My aim. Let me pull up. My aim is a percentage that received 3 out of 5 right care measures. So you take all of your patients. So I'm taking all of my patients, and then all of them that got 3 of those things on the list that I did, and we got, those 3 were done on the patients or for the patients, counted as 1. They had to get at least 3 to be counted in, and then you divide that number by the total number of patients that are on your list. Does that make sense?
So what are your right care measures that you contacted? Like,
everybody's is going to be different. Mine is, so mine is the right care measures that I chose is, did they get screened using my screening tool? Did they fill in their daily logs that I gave them? Those types of things. So did they are they getting the things that they do? Are they getting the tools?
Yeah. So mine doesn't work that way. So mine is screening, using the shared decision aid, and then follow-up. That's it.
But you don't have any, you don't break down your follow-up?
To what? If they're not calling me back, what's the follow-up?
That's the thing is your right care 2 of those 3 items. Did they get screened? Did they get the decision aid? Did they follow up? If you decide that your right care is 2 of those 3, or is it going to be 3 of those 3? If they followed up, then they get entered in as a positive. You have to decide that score. You know what I mean?
That's totally different. I mean, I like what you're saying, but that's totally different than what we were discussing. But I think I could do that. Like, were they supposed to be screened? Did they get screened? And if they got screened, did they use the tool?
Correct.
And if they use the tool, did they get the follow-up? So that would be like a score of 3 out of 3.
Exactly.
And we want 2 out of 3.
You decide however many.
Right. Okay. Now that's a totally different concept than what she was saying. And the concept that she was saying is still not gelled in my head, because she's like, you take C process and the D outcome, and then you average those, and that's your score. That's like gibberish. That doesn't make any sense to me in my head.
Yeah, so I'm doing the same thing, case
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, so that's why that's the hardest thing is well, how do I decide what's right care? And she says, you get to decide, this is your project. So the patients
but that's not even it. Like, the thing that we were doing, I don't even understand. Like, I understand it when she's saying it, but then when I go to do it, it's like a percentage, a mean of 2 percentages is what my aim was.
Oh, wow.
Not a right care, not anything that you're talking about.
Wow.
So, and I'm like, well, why is that even a number? The mean of 2%, like, it doesn't. And then someone else had that too. She's like, I didn't come up with that equation. I don't even know what that is. Like, I want to understand what I'm doing,
Yeah.
So another person who had exact same thing as me had that same formula, but she doesn't even understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I might just, like she said, I have all the data, but I just don't know how to. All right, I've taken up so much time. I'm just going to pass it off to other people. Thank you for your help. Anybody else?
That was a complicated one. That and I have seen that used before, where they do the mean of 2. Anyway, and I remember thinking that I just didn't understand it, but
I don't understand it. I go to do it. I'm like, but this doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And at the time, I thought, okay, it makes enough sense. But I remember thinking, let me not do that because that's going to confuse me.
It doesn't make any sense to me in my brain. This thing are the things happening that are supposed to be happening, but that's not patient-centered. Like, I guess that's like right care. Then are they getting the right care that they need, right? That's a totally different than, right? That's the aim. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. Who else is going?
Maybe else have a specific question, or at least just want to like share things, share your project with everybody.
This one's so I have a question. So I'm trying to do my actions for my next cycle, and I know there's a couple other people in this group that are doing obesity as well. And can anybody kind of share what they're doing as far as like screening? Because I've, utilized the BMI. I've tried waist circumference, all those things. And we tried expanding my BMI down to 26, and that didn't do anything either. Just wondering, is anybody running into that same thing where they're moving either the BMI around or this? How are you screening these patients or changing your screening tools for those patients? Because I feel like I'm exhausting there's only really a couple ways to screen obese patients. You weigh them and you get a BMI, but like, where do you go from there? Does anybody else have any other ideas?
What are you trying to accomplish? Like,
why are you trying to change the screen itself?
Well, we have to ramp up. I don't necessarily have to change the screening, but come up with another. I need a 4th ramp as far as like what
about just spreading?
I did, and see, I spreaded it to 26. So my BMI was 30 or above. And so then I expanded it down to 26 to see if I could capture overweight patients and see if I can get them to engage, not just your obese.
Is this for your C-ramp?
Yeah. I'm sorry, did I say yeah, my C-ramp.
What about spreading to more providers so everybody else has to screen too?
Yeah, that's what I thought, Rebecca.
Yeah, I've already expanded to 3 providers. And I can't really go any further than that because the rest are, they won't do it. So so I expanded to 26, a BMI down, I expanded lower. And that didn't increase the number of patients that are willing to engage, which is obviously the whole goal of this. But on my mean chart, my average BMI in my patients are 29 or over. So I'm guessing my question is, and you guys may not be able to answer this, is a 4th ramp, like, has anybody gone where they've reduced their screening, and has that been accepted? Because I'm like, why am I screening all these patients with a BMI of 26 and trying to get them to engage when it's not working? They're just not engaging. So do I not exhaust myself and reduce it back down to 29 and see if I can get those to engage? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Because
what's the point of your C-ramp? Your point of your C-ramp is the amount of people screened, but because you keep on saying engagement.
So, and that's the other thing. After my meeting on Saturday with her, she kept saying, you need to look at the big picture. What are we trying to get patients to do? And I was like, we're trying to get patients to engage, and we're using the engagement tool and to help them because they're overweight, help them because they're obese. And she's like, okay, well then expand your screening to include more patients that might be willing to engage in your engagement tool. So she goes, they go together, but they don't, obviously. You're screening them to find out if you can help them. And so I'm just like, what do I do? What do I do to increase?
And you're doing case management for your D-ramp?
Yeah.
And so what qualifies them for case management?
The fact that they are, what originally was high risk BMI. So they had automatically qualified them, but then they have to be willing to fill out daily logs and participate. So if you screen them and they say, nah, I'm not willing to do that, they don't go on the case management log. Okay. Or yes, I'm willing to.
How about if you just do a 24-hour diet recall as part of it to get more people engaged? Because that's easy to do and you can do it right then.
I guess so.
I use that a lot in my practice. They're like, oh, I eat so healthy. I'm like, okay, what'd you have? And we just go 24 hours. What'd you have for breakfast? All the way up. And that's screening. That's diet counseling.
You know, that's a really good idea. I think that people are always surprised.
Is that diet counseling or is it engagement?
Well, it's both. You're engaging the patient. You're doing it together right there.
Okay, so that would be a good engagement one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing it and then you're providing a plan based on that information that you've gathered together.
Because my last ramp, I put out a questionnaire. Are you, basically how interested are you? Basically anybody with a BMI over a certain number, we gave them this tiny questionnaire. Are you interested in basically counseling? And then I tried putting that in screening and she goes, no, that's engagement. And I'm like, oh.
So where are you in the process asking them if they want to participate?
So last ramp, so cycle 3, it was a piece of paper.
Like when they come in for their office, they come in for their visit, they have a BMI of 30.
26, yeah, okay. And we hand them that piece of paper.
They hand them that piece of paper. So an engagement tool, I wouldn't ask them. I would just say, because you don't have to ask them. They're already. So you just say, so you've screened over 30 or over 26. We're trying to collect more data about your eating habits to see if there's something that we can talk about here to make some minor changes. Would you be willing to do a 24-hour diet recall? But so my idea of the shared decision aid, or which I'm using, is you don't hand them a piece of paper. It's a paper that you go over together. So making a piece of paper that's lined breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it literally takes less than a minute to do that, to do a 24-hour diet recall. And that's patient engagement. And you capture them right then. You don't ask them. You just do it.
Yeah.
You don't ask them if they want to participate. You say, hey, so you scored over. So we're collecting data on your diet history. So let's go over what you had in the last 24 hours. Simple. They all do it. No one's going to say no. They're going to say, well, I had a bad day. I'm like, okay, we'll pick your average day.
Yeah, I'm just stuck on the screening. Like how I changed my C-ramp is where I'm so stuck right now, because I just don't know how to ramp up or down.
What changes have you done so far? Like what is your whole C-ramp in?
So when I originally started out, it was anybody with a BMI over 30 got a waist measurement. And so that was number 1. And then number 2, we added in, let's see here. Sorry, let me look. I feel like it was years ago. Pull up my cycle here. So then PDSA cycle 2, I went ahead and obtained waist measurements on patients that were overweight, so not a BMI over 30. So basically anybody that qualified, basically 25 and above, got a waist measurement to see if they would be considered high risk. And then this round, we expanded the screening completely to everybody with a BMI of 26. So they got BMI, but we dropped waist measurements. So we kind of adjusted the screening a little bit. Does that make sense? And then now I just don't even know where to go with that, because what I've learned from that is expanding the screening from 26 down to 26. Yeah, I'm screening a ton of people. I've got my screening at 100%. Everybody's getting screened. It's just nothing after that. Like,
you've always had the other providers screening too.
Oh,
okay.
I mean, definitely not in abundance. They're not doing it, but as far as they're not doing it as much as I am.
Because I mean, you could make it so that they just have to do it every time they're in the office, like you do.
Is that something you've done on yours?
My last one I spread to 2 providers, and this one I'm spreading to even more providers for my C-ramp.
And that's all you say in your C-ramp is that you're spreading to?
Yep.
Okay. That might be what I'll.
And then you still have to manage those patients in your case management log. So you're going to have more in your case management log.
Yeah. And see, yeah, and that's what I have. I mean, they've been doing it. They'll catch the ones with a BMI over 30 and they'll let me know the patient needs to be engaged and I'll go engage them. But I haven't expanded the 26 to all providers. So maybe that's what I'll do as my C. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll go next if no one has a question just yet. I'm also having a little trouble expanding my C-ramp, and I kind of feel like everything's going well, so then it's like, okay, can I just leave it like this and not mess with anything else? So for my C-ramp, I'm doing a sexual health questionnaire, and we've reduced it. My last ramp was it was a whole page, and the last one was reducing it to a smaller size, and so it's actually helped a lot. People are much more likely to pass it out. People are more likely to use it. I think it helped a lot with satisfaction all around, patient satisfaction, front desk. Everybody was a little happier with the tool because it was, I guess, shorter and easier to use. But I guess what I was thinking about doing for my ramp was trying to find a way to help the providers to what I'm doing. It's a sexual health questionnaire. We're trying to find out what patients need, identifying primary care. If they need immunizations, if they need family planning, birth control, pap smear, stuff like that. So it's all on the little form. And so I feel like we're doing a better job handing out these tools. We're doing a better job using them, but I'd like to find a way for the providers to identify to the discharge nurse that, hey, this person needs that discharge sheet. Give them the information for the vaccines, give them the information for follow-up for birth control or whatever. And I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. I think that's okay. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. So sorry about that. Can you guys still hear me? Okay. So anyway, the way that we mark it in the computer is that the providers are supposed to put it in the EMR. There's a little spot for follow-up, and they're supposed to put immunizations or family planning, and so that way it's easy for the discharge provider to see what's needed. But a lot of some of the providers aren't doing that. A lot of them. The discharge nurse can see what's needed, but it's just, I'm not sure how to make that into a ramp, but that's what I would like to do, find some way to identify for the providers to let the discharge nurse know this person needs this. And I don't know if there's a better way, if somebody else can come up with some kind of suggestions. And I almost want... Go ahead.
Sorry, you hear my son talking too. I was going to say, is there a way to do any incentive for the providers? Because you're saying that the providers aren't doing it and you're trying to figure out a way.
Mm-hmm. Well, my Ramp D is for, we're using an incentive for my Ramp D. So my Ramp D is it's more with the discharge nurse. It's the discharge nurse using their little discharge tool, and are the patients actually following up? So we're using an incentive, which has actually worked very well to get the providers to, if your patient followed up in immunizations, then, whoever has the most gets the prize. And so that actually made a huge difference, and well, at least a little difference. And so we were really happy with that. But I just wanted to help find a way for, just there's a few providers that it just don't document, even though they're doing it and they're telling the patients. But I kind of want it to be across the board, like everyone's going to get a discharge paper unless. And so I almost want to do it like everybody gets one. And how about document if you don't need it, or if I'm not sure. Any suggestions on that one? Okay, well, I'll have to think about that one some more. Okay, well,
I'm sitting here trying to think of something too.
And I don't know if you all have used, like, you know, put a little sticker in the corner if they don't need it, or put a little. I hate to do more and more little reminders and little things because I feel like we're all doing so many, and we have our staff doing so many things. But has anybody had any luck with something like that? No. Okay, well, I got one more question for you guys then.
Is there a way to put a reminder on the actual form?
So their chart gets handed, well, it gets put in the discharge box, and so we could put like a little sticker on there or something that this person's going to need one.
So is your screening a piece of paper, or
Yeah.
how is it? It's an actual piece of paper? Okay, and so what exactly qualifies them as positive or negative?
So positive is if they need, let me see, I got it right here. So positive is if they need either immunizations, a pap smear, birth control, anything like that, then it's here. Now this paper stays with us, and we're supposed to put into the computer that they need to follow up an immunizations, family planning, whatever. So that's supposed to go into the computer, but not everybody puts it in the computer. So then when the discharge nurse is discharging her patients, she's supposed to be able to see, okay, this person needs this, this, and this, check, check, check on the little discharge sheet. And that shows them, and it has all the information of where to go for your your pap smear, go across the hall and make your appointment, go to immunizations. And
so when that form is being completed by whoever's doing it, they're completing it and it goes somewhere separate than the chart, is what you're saying?
Now,
go ahead.
Now I'm thinking, what if we had the discharge nurse? What if that stayed in the chart all the way? And
I was going to say either have it stay in the chart all the way, or as soon as any of them are yes, there's a red piece of paper that's thrown in the chart, or a green piece of paper that may just, or a green Post-it note that hangs out the top that just shows them there was a yes.
I like that. It's sometimes it's the simple things that. That's like,
or you can make those forms red or pink, hot pink, or whatever it may be, because if any of them are yes, they get stuck in the chart and then if they're no's, and they just get input and go on their merry way.
Right.
But if they're yeses, then they stay in the chart and off they go. But I would make it a lime green color or something very, catching, so it doesn't get missed.
I do like that. And I could even give everyone a highlighter, and, if you get a chance, just highlight what they need and stick it in the, I actually really like that. That's nice and simple, nice and easy. And then if they don't need it, then it can just
goes,
stay there.
Put in and off it goes.
Yay. Okay. See how simple, sometimes the simple ones. Oh, you guys are okay. One more, since you guys are on a roll. I don't know, anybody doing huddle for their teamwork engagement?
I'm doing QI meetings, but not huddles.
I do huddle.
Okay. Yeah, you got some huddles. Okay. So we're really trying to get, I've been asking everybody, what can we do to improve huddle? What are some of the different things? And I have a whole list of things. A lot of people feel like they don't feel comfortable speaking up, or that it's more, that we don't really get into the issues of the clinic. And so I wanted to try to find a way to get everybody to feel a little bit more comfortable and almost like taking ownership of the huddle. And that way it's like huddle, if there's something wrong with it, it's because we're not making it better. Let's all make it better. And so I wanted to kind of do some kind of not a round table, but almost, and of course also very brief, but just to kind of get other people comfortable with speaking at huddle. And so kind of like the discharge nurse can say how many treatments are coming in today, and the provider can say how many or something, and that way people could be a little bit more, and that way it's not, you know, just me or just the nursing supervisor or just one person just kind of rattling off all the information. But this way we can kind of go around. It doesn't have to be, everybody doesn't have to be assigned something, but I figured I can kind of assign or somewhat assign something at the beginning to have everybody contribute, and then see if that would help people be more comfortable talking at huddle and bringing up issues that actually matter, that actually affect patient care and coordination. Does that sound like that would work, or does it sound like it would just take longer and be more more of a waste of time?
I don't think people are going to like being assigned a role. I don't think they will really say something. I'm doing a suggestion box where you can like put anonymous suggestion in there, and like when it's anonymous, people say like how they feel. And if I get 2 suggestions a week, I'm giving like a free lunch. So that's what I'm doing for this week.
Now, are your suggestions for improving care or for
anything? The huddle, the care, you know, the tools, you know, just everything.
I like that. Okay, now are you let me see. Now the suggestions, are you bringing them to the attention of the clinic at some point, or what are you doing with this information?
Yeah, no, at the end of the week I'm bringing them to the clinic, attention to the clinic, yeah.
Ah, I kind of like that. That's not a bad idea too. And so people can just put suggestions, and then at the end, and that way nobody has to know who suggested what. That's not a bad idea. Anybody else have huddle issues or ideas?
That's what we kind of do for our huddle. We kind of allow people to write down their concerns. We personally, because we have so much staff, it's hard for us to kind of open the floor for people to talk, because then huddle kind of get away from you.
Right.
So we only designate our you know, the supervisor or whoever's in charge to kind of lead the huddle, just to provide a little more structure to it. But it's still an opportunity for people to engage and bring up any issues or concerns that they may have by, you know, writing down or making sure that the supervisor is aware of something that needs to be discussed.
So I like this idea because I think part of it is that people don't want to speak up in front of everybody. So I think this would give an opportunity for people to bring up their issues without having, you know, in front of people, in front of everybody. So I like, what do you guys call this thing? The suggestion box?
Are you doing huddles every day?
We do, just brief huddles.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, because that's the other thing is you can just, you know, the same type of situations, you know, suggestion box or whatever it is. And then, because if you're doing them daily, then you can actually have people draw from the box and you guys address one item per meeting, you know, so that can be talked out. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
So that's just a thought, like at the end of the week. And then on Monday, you start that box, you know, everybody draws one a day. So by Friday, you got to get all your suggestions in for the following week, and then you draw from them.
I like this.
So for me, my balancing measure is staff satisfaction. And so I have a survey that's given to the staff at the end of huddle. Everybody doesn't turn it in, but they fill out the survey, and there's a section on there that has comments that they can write comments in. They don't have to write their name or anything on it, and they turn that into the supervisor. So at the next, because we do huddles every shift, so every 12 hours. So then at the next shift, those concerns get addressed. That's kind of what we do.
Very cool. Well, thanks, you guys. This has been such a huge help. It makes so much more sense once you talk it out. So thank you. Okay, sorry to hog the spotlight. I'll let somebody else have a turn.
Does anybody live in a state that does not have full practice authority?
I do, North Carolina.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm having issues. I tried my last cycle to put in referrals for mental health, and the insurance company is saying that has to come from a PCP. It can't come from the midwife. So that test of change didn't really work. So I'm not going with that for my next one, but Dr. Jollis just wants me to keep like continuing and trying to figure out if like why the insurance is saying that we can't do it, if it's something, you know, all across PA or if it's something just in my area. So I don't know if anybody else had any issues or insight on any mental health referrals or referrals in general.
Do you guys have an overseeing physician at all there, or you do?
Yep.
And what is that physician like super open to co-sign anything?
Yeah, and for some reason they're still saying it has to come from their PCP and not even our doctor.
We run into that with Medicaid patients, is a lot of their stuff has to be PCP drafted. Does your guys' office, when they come in, actually tell you who their PCP is? Yeah,
so what we did for the 2 people that I had tried to put referrals in is we called their office and tried to get their PCP to do it. PCP is like, well, why do I have to do this? And it makes more work for them, so they're not always open and receptive to that.
Gotcha. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
But PCP would be open for a mental health referral.
Yeah, I know. And now I have all these patients screening positive, and like I can just tell them that they can call counseling places and try to schedule themselves, but we can't put referrals in. It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, so you can't track them. I can't help you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wondered if they had any insight on anything with that.
I was going to ask, what about the patients who don't have PCPs?
Yeah. I don't understand how you can't make a referral. Like if you have someone who has anemia and you need to get them to see a hematologist, what happens?
We can put referrals in for that. We cannot put in referrals for physical therapy.
No.
We can't write for breast pumps anymore for some reason. There's just I don't know what is with the Pennsylvania and that's happening, but.
So I would call the insurance commissioner of the state. That's what just so curious. So there is an insurance commissioner and say, why can I write for a hematologist, but I cannot write for a PT? So ask them specifically what is going on, because they're the ones who rule over the state and make those rulings.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I have to figure out who all to call and.
It's called the insurance commissioner.
Okay.
For your state.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we're identifying problems as we go, and I guess even just having some good data to show, hey, this is a problem. I think it'll hopefully do some good. That's what I'm hoping for.
So you're the insurance commissioner for Pennsylvania, is this Jessica Altman. And I would just call her.
I will work on that, thank you.
Literally just call her. So one thing that's happening, that you talk about weird things that are coming up as we're doing it. So our private practice was bought by a practice that's gobbling up OBGYNs and different things. And they want us, so we're screening for depression at the new OB, 28 weeks, postpartum, and yearly for our annuals, right? They are charging the customer, we're using the PHQ and the GAD-7 and the EPDS, $20 per piece of paper. And the patient isn't aware that they are being charged that. And some of it isn't really going to the global fee. Like it's going to be going to their total, right? But they're going to have to pay it. And so every time we administer the EPDS, it's $20 added to their charge. And we have some self-pay people. And so that's causing a big stir within our organization, because we want to screen, but anybody who comes in postpartum, so maybe that means weekly EPDS to see where they're at, but we don't want to do that because there's $20. So it's like a big thing within our organization. Like, what do we want to be doing? There's a lot of pressure to have them. And in my mind, this is a self-administered tool. It's not like we're doing And if anything, we're having a conversation and then we're referring out, which we would do with or without the tool. You know what I mean? So I find it fascinating that we're trying to get $20 for this tool. It's causing problems.
It's terrible how much insurance can dictate what we can do.
Right.
Hey, Rebecca, here's a thought. So an idea for your ramp is to draft a letter to the commissioner on every single patient that you screen that you can't get in. But if think about it, it's a generic letter, and all you do is drop the patient's name in. This patient needs a mental health, blah, blah, blah. Send it off. And every single letter, I mean, you might end up sending the commissioner 30 letters. Whether it makes a difference or not, you're still trying to do what's right for the patient.
I like that idea because you, under your scope, you administered the screening tool as part of your job. You're allowed to do that. And you're the one who made the assessment, yet you aren't allowed to make the referral.
So like draft a very nice professional letter, and like every patient just drop the name in, and send it via email or whatever it may be. And when they get 30 of them, and you can just see, I mean, it may change nothing, but you're still doing what's right for the patient and trying to make a change. So to me, that's a great ramp. And that's what it takes, is for us to pester them and be like, this is freaking ridiculous. You know, like, look how many patients you're stopping from getting mental health. It's an idea, and it's really easy. Just type the name in and shoot it off. So, and then you can track how many you're sent. Something you can actually keep track of. So. Has anybody done an incentive type thing for their patients yet at all? Like if they've returned something or whatever, done an incentive pack?
I'm doing an incentive for my A-ramp, which is that my team doing this game. And so there's an incentive for participation.
Okay.
And
how's that working?
Everybody was 2 right away, just never did it and aren't doing it. Some are doing it halfway. 2 people are neck and neck. They participate fully. So I would only say like 20% are participating fully. Most are not participating at all. I mean, or a little bit, and another 20% is not participating. And I think that's personality, really. You know, you're either like wanting to do the games. Like I bought lottery tickets. Like you're either a lottery ticket winner or you're not a lottery ticket, you know, like you like the game or you don't like the game. I always drop my name in the bucket for a win a prize type of thing. So it hasn't been, and it's just kind of boring because I know it's just going to be these 2 people. So everybody knows it's just going to be these 2 people. So the people aren't trying even more because they're never going to win. So I think it works for a little bit, but not for how many weeks we're doing it. So I'm going to have to change something with that.
Okay. I have this idea, my 4th ramp to get my patients to return their daily food logs. I'm considering doing an incentive just at the end to see how many people I can get to bring them in, because I don't have a lot of data.
I have a thing where if they return it, then their name goes into a drawing.
That's what I'm thinking about doing, but I'm going to do like a Hydro Flask or, one of the nice water bottles where it's healthy. Obviously, I don't want to give my gift card to Olive Garden, but like, I was just curious if anybody else had done that other than Kelly. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I do with the team. I do with the team. Well, now with the suggestion box, I will give out a free lunch, but I also did it before with once they give suggestions, I give them German candy, and they all love German candy. So they love me bringing in German goodies.
Okay.
I have incentive for the team also, but not patients.
Not patients, yeah.
And see, that's the hard thing I have is any literature that backs it. I mean, it has shown, all the literature I show, so it's show incentives don't work. So I'm trying to like, how do I justify doing it? But yet it's my last ditch effort to get them to really turn in their logs. But I don't know. So I'm going to give it a try, even though the literature doesn't back it by any means.
Does it really not back it? I thought I had seen some stuff that said it did.
Not when it comes to weight loss.
Ah, there you go. That's
maybe other things in life, but when it comes to weight loss and obesity and stuff, nope.
Gotcha.
We'll just use a generic to support it.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I need to do, is just do incentives, but instead of weight loss, because everything I searched for weight loss, it was no go. But okay. Anybody else? Go for it.
So for me, sorry, y'all hear my little 2-year-old in the background. So my due write-up, it's kind of redundant. I feel like I'm constantly like putting the same information in every single cycle. I don't know if anybody else is running into similar situations or not.
You talking about the field notes?
Yeah, the field notes.
I was doing that too. I was like, okay, these are the things that I regularly do. And then she said a comment that inspired me. She was like, but how are you feeling about the things that you're doing? And so then I started to talk a little bit about perceptions and how I'm feeling things are going, and what are my observations about the things that I'm doing, right? So kind of go at it at a different way. Yeah, you're doing all these things and they're the same things, but how are you feeling about them? What are the nuances? And are you inspired by the process at all? Because I've had some like intellectual things, like, one of the providers says, it's not just about the number, it's the story behind the number. Like, we had a conversation, yeah, it's a positive screen, but she's saying, this is what I'm getting out of it. The screening is telling me about the person. So think about how you're feeling about what's happening, not just what's happening.
Well, thank you. That's helpful. Because I'm like, wow, I'm going into the next cycle, and it's like the same.
Right.
Yeah, and I feel like she gives very little comment sometimes in the field notes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they can be pretty much whatever you want them to be. One of the things I try to do is keep them as, well, reminders of what's going on, but also stuff that's not necessarily shown in my data or in in my charts, but I want to make sure that it's there somewhere. Like, this is why my patient cycle times are longer. This is why this is going. I don't know, just more data that's maybe not reflected in the charts and in the aggregate data. And then just something weird that happened that causes, I don't know, or if we're short providers, or I don't know. There's not a lot of direction as to what goes in there, so I feel like anything goes. So.
And then what about y'all summaries? I mean, my summaries are a lot of, pretty much my learning sections, like things from my learning sections. But I want to say she had made a comment on mine about it needed to be more, I don't know, scholarly, or yes, honey, work party. It needed to be more scholarly, and I'm like, well, that's the same stuff I have in my learning section. So I don't know if anyone has any like recommendations on like what they're writing. And I guess my intention too was, although we're kind of writing things now, but in the end, I'll probably go back and rewrite the entire thing anyway.
I was trying to keep mine in like the 1 to 2 sentence per PDSA cycle, and she told me don't do that right now. Just write everything you have to explain what you're doing, and then later you can go back and kind of summarize it better and make it down into the sentence limit. So that's what I'm doing for this one.
Well, that makes more sense, because I'm trying to condense things down to 1 or 2 sentences.
Yeah, I would say I'm not doing that either, and I'm bringing in a combination of this is what the data says, and this is where we're going. And I each time I just redo the entire paragraph. So it's about 6 sentences long, but it encompasses everything that I've done. So like I reevaluate it again with the new information and write it as if this was the kind of the end of the project and what we're looking forward to. And then the next one, I was like, okay, this was the end of the project. This is what we're looking forward to. This is what happened. And then I make another whole paragraph again, like summarizing everything up until that point and what we're doing next. And then the last one should be just summarizing what we have done completely. And she said nothing on mine, like they're fine.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have more questions?
Lauren, do you have anything?
Nope, I was actually struggling the same way though with team engagement. I could not think of anything for a test to change, but the suggestion box I think will really help me too. So that was my big question.
Good. All right, I guess we're wrapped up. It's been an hour. Yeah.
Sounds good. Anybody have anything else?
All right. Well, good luck, you guys. Have a good rest of the day.
I will stop the broadcast.